Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the dimly lit bathroom, with shadows dancing on the walls, a mysterious figure awaited. The little dress. Its dark fabric, draped like secrets whispered in the darkness, swayed gently, caught in the whisper of a breeze. This was no ordinary garment, for it held a spellbinding allure, offering a transformation beyond physical appearance. "Oh, Waylon, embrace the magic of tonight!" The encouragement rang through the room, delivered by an eager spirit. "Tonight, you're not just putting on a costume, you're embracing another world, an adventure of self-discovery." Uncertainty and curiosity intertwined as Waylon stood there, his reflection mirroring the internal dilemma. His longish hair framed a face contemplating a never-before-imagined path, though the voice of resistance whispered its doubts. Yet, the night's promise whispered louder, beckoning with a secret promise of liberation. Now, faced with the reality of Melissa's dress, the butterflies in his stomach wouldn't settle. "I don't know if it'll even fit me," he called back, a last-ditch effort at an excuse. Melissa laughed. "We're practically the same height, and you're skinnier than me. It'll fit." With a deep breath, Waylon removed his jeans and t-shirt, standing in just his boxers. The dress stared back at him, a simple black sheath with thin straps and a modest neckline. Nothing too revealing or complicated, just a classic little black dress that Melissa had worn countless times to various college functions. He slipped it over his head, the fabric cool against his skin as it slid down his body. He expected to feel ridiculous, but as he tugged the dress into place, something unexpected happened. It felt right. The way the material hugged his waist created a silhouette he'd never seen on himself before. "How's it going in there?" Melissa called out. I think it fits," Waylon replied, turning to see himself from different angles. "But I look like a guy in a dress." "Hold on." The bathroom door opened, and Melissa appeared with a makeup bag and a small box. Her eyes widened when she saw him, but not with mockery or surprise. There was something appreciative in her gaze. "Wow, your shoulders actually look great in that," she said, setting her supplies on the counter. "Now sit. I'm going to make you unrecognizable." For the next hour, Melissa worked her magic. Foundation to soften his features, contouring to accentuate cheekbones he didn't know he had, mascara to lengthen his already long eyelashes. She used brown eyeshadow to complement his brown hair, blending colors to create depth and dimension. "Now for the crowning glory," she said, opening the box to reveal a mid-length brown wig with soft waves. "I borrowed this from the theater department." When she placed it on his head, adjusting it carefully to cover his natural hair, the transformation was complete. Waylon stared at the mirror, no longer seeing himself, but someone entirely new. "Holy shit," he whispered. Melissa stood behind him, hands on his shoulders, both of them gazing at his reflection. "You need a name." "What?" "For tonight, you can't be Waylon." He thought for a moment, then said, "Haley. I've always liked that name." "Haley," Melissa repeated, testing it out. "Perfect. Now let's find you some heels." The party was a blur of music, colored lights, and double takes. To Waylon's surprise, several people didn't recognize him at all, complimenting Melissa on her hot friend. Others who were in on the joke marveled at the transformation. For the first time in his life, Waylon experienced the particular attention women receive, the lingering glances, the way conversations shifted when he entered a room. What shocked him most was how natural it felt to move through the world as Haley. By the end of the night, he'd stopped thinking about the dress or the makeup. He was just existing, laughing with friends, dancing with Melissa. "You're a hit," Melissa said, as they took a break near the punch bowl.
"This is not what I expected,"
Waylon admitted.
"I thought I'd feel uncomfortable all night, but it's actually kind of liberating."
Someone snapped a photo of them. Melissa, beautiful in her witch costume, arm around Haley in the little black dress, both smiling broadly. The flash momentarily blinded them, and they laughed, posing for another. The photographs made their way to social media that night, as party pictures always do. Waylon didn't think much about it when he finally fell into bed, exhausted but strangely content. 3 days later, everything changed. "Waylon, we need to talk," Melissa said, her voice unusually serious over the phone. 20 minutes later, they sat in a quiet corner of the campus coffee shop. "My parents saw the Halloween photos," Melissa explained, cupping her latte with both hands. "The ones of you and me." Waylon felt a chill. "Oh, did they recognize me?" "That's just it." Melissa bit her lip. "They didn't. They think I'm dating a girl named Haley."
"What?"
Waylon nearly choked on his coffee. "Why would they think that?" "The way we were posed in the pictures, my arm around you, the way we were looking at each other." She paused. "And apparently my mom has been wondering about my sexuality for years." She took this as confirmation. Waylon ran a hand through his brown hair, now back to its usual style. "Did you correct them?" "That's the thing." Melissa looked down at her coffee. "They seemed so excited. My mom kept saying how beautiful Haley is, and how happy she is that I found someone who makes me smile like that. But we're dating. I'm your boyfriend. Waylon." I know. She reached across the table to take his hand. "And I tried to explain, but they cut me off, saying they want to meet you, this weekend for dinner. They're driving up specifically to take us out." The implications slowly dawned on him.
"You want me to dress up as Haley again? For dinner with your parents?"
"Just hear me out," Melissa said quickly. "It's just one dinner. They live 3 hours away and rarely visit. After dinner, we can tell them the truth, laugh about the misunderstanding, and everything goes back to normal. Or I could just meet them as myself, your actual boyfriend." Melissa's face fell. "I thought about that, but they've already seen Haley. If I suddenly show up with a boyfriend named Waylon, they'll think I'm hiding something or ashamed of my true self."
"But you are hiding something,"
Waylon pointed out.
"The truth."
"Please." Melissa's eyes were pleading. "Just one dinner, 4 hours max. Then we come clean." Waylon stared at his coffee, thinking about how it had felt to be Haley for a night. The freedom, the strange comfort of it. Could he do it again, in a much more intimate setting, carrying on an actual conversation rather than just dancing at a party?
"I'll need better shoes,"
he finally said.
"Those heels were killing me by the end of the night."
Melissa's face lit up with relief and gratitude. "Thank you. And don't worry, I'll make sure you look amazing." The next few days passed in a flurry of preparation. Melissa took Waylon shopping, carefully selecting items that would flatter his frame while maintaining a modest appearance suitable for meeting parents. "My mom's pretty progressive, but let's not push it with anything too revealing," she advised as they browsed a department store. They settled on a soft pink blouse with a subtle ruffle at the neckline and a white pencil skirt that hit just below the knee. Low heels in a neutral tone completed the outfit, practical enough for comfort, but feminine enough to be convincing. "What about my voice?" Waylon asked as they drove back to his apartment with their purchases. "I didn't have to talk much at the party, but dinner conversation is going to be different." "Just speak softly and focus on your pitch rather than volume," Melissa suggested. "We can practice." Practice they did. Every evening leading up to the dinner, Waylon would dress in his new clothes, and they would role-play conversations, with Melissa playing both her parents. They worked on mannerisms, gestures, the way Haley would hold her fork, sip her water, laugh at a joke. On the morning of the dinner, Waylon woke with a knot of anxiety in his stomach. This was no longer just a Halloween prank, but something far more complex. He was about to deliberately deceive Melissa's parents, people who might someday be his in-laws. Yet, beneath the anxiety lay something else. A flutter of anticipation. The chance to be Haley again, but this time in the real world, not at a costume party. Melissa arrived at his apartment early to help him get ready. This time, the transformation was even more thorough. She'd borrowed better makeup, taken more time with the wig, paid attention to details like nail polish, a subtle pink that matched the blouse, and accessories. Small pearl earrings and a delicate necklace. When they finished, Haley stood before the mirror, hardly recognizing herself. The person reflected back was polished, put together, feminine in a way that didn't feel like a costume at all. "You look beautiful," Melissa said softly, standing beside her. "I mean that sincerely." Haley smiled at their reflection, Melissa with her natural beauty, herself with this carefully constructed appearance that somehow felt more authentic than expected. "You ready?" Melissa asked. "As I'll ever be," Haley replied, her voice soft and measured in the way they'd practiced. The restaurant Melissa's parents had chosen was upscale, but not pretentious, a farm-to-table place near campus that was popular for family visits. Haley felt eyes on her as they walked to the table where Melissa's parents were already seated, but not in the way she'd feared. There were no suspicious glances, no double takes, just the normal attention a woman might receive. "Mom, Dad," Melissa said, her voice only slightly higher than usual. "This is Haley." Melissa's mother stood immediately, embracing Haley with genuine warmth. "We've heard so much about you. Well, not enough, really, but what we've heard has been wonderful." Her father stood more formally, but with a kind smile, offering his hand. "Pleasure to meet you, Haley. I'm Richard, and this is my wife, Diane." "The pleasure's all mine," Haley replied, conscious of keeping her voice soft. "Melissa speaks so highly of you both." As they sat down, Haley felt a strange calm settle over her. The initial hurdle had been cleared. They hadn't seen through her appearance. Now she just needed to maintain the illusion through dinner. "So, Haley," Diane began, "tell us about your studies. Melissa mentioned you're in the same program." "English literature," Haley confirmed, smoothing her white skirt beneath the table. "We met in American modernism last year." The conversation flowed more easily than Haley had anticipated. She found herself talking about books she loved, professors she admired, her plans for graduate school. All things Waylon would have discussed, but somehow Haley expressed them differently, There was a freedom in being someone else, in shedding expectations and history.
"And your family?" Richard asked. "Are they nearby?"
A question they hadn't prepared for. Haley took a sip of water, buying time. "Actually, they're on the West Coast. I don't get to see them as often as I'd like." "That must be difficult," Diane said sympathetically. "Well, you're welcome in our home anytime. Any friend of Melissa's, especially one who makes her smile like that, is family to us." The genuine acceptance in Diane's voice struck deep. Haley felt her chest tighten with emotion she hadn't expected. These people who had just met her were offering something pure and uncomplicated. Welcome, inclusion, warmth. By the time dessert arrived, Haley had forgotten to be nervous. She was simply present, enjoying the evening, the conversation, the experience of being treated as exactly who she appeared to be.
"I have to say,"
Richard commented as they shared a chocolate torte,
"you two make quite the pair. I haven't seen Melissa this happy in a long time."
Melissa blushed.
"Dad, stop!" "What? I'm just stating facts."
He turned to Haley.
"She talks about you constantly on our phone calls. Now I see why."
Beneath the table, Melissa squeezed Haley's hand, their signal that it was time to come clean, to explain the misunderstanding, to laugh it off and reintroduce Waylon. But in that moment, looking at the genuine affection in Richard and Diane's eyes, feeling the gentle pressure of Melissa's hand, Haley couldn't bear to break the spell. The words wouldn't come. Melissa seemed to sense her hesitation. She gave Haley's hand another squeeze, then said,
"Well, I'm lucky to have found her."
The moment passed. The check came. Goodbyes were said in the parking lot, with promises to visit soon, to keep in touch, to come for Thanksgiving if they didn't have other plans. In the car, silence hung between them until they were halfway back to Waylon's apartment. "You didn't tell them," Melissa finally said. Not accusatory, just observational. "Neither did you," Haley pointed out. "No, I didn't." Melissa kept her eyes on the road.
"I was following your lead, but now we're in deeper than before."
Haley looked out the window at the passing streetlights.
"I couldn't do it. They were so accepting, so happy. I didn't want to make them feel foolish." "So what happens now? We just keep pretending? Forever?"
The word forever hung in the air between them. Haley turned it over in her mind, examining it from all angles. Forever as Haley. Forever leaving Waylon behind. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like opening a door she hadn't known existed.
"I don't know,"
she finally said. But being Haley tonight, it didn't feel like pretending. Melissa glanced over, her expression softening. "I noticed. You seemed comfortable. Natural."
"I've never told anyone this,"
Haley said slowly.
"But I've always felt not quite right as Waylon. Like I was playing a part there too, just one I was assigned at birth."
The car pulled into the parking lot of Waylon's apartment building, but neither made a move to get out.
"Are you saying—"
Melissa began.
"I don't know what I'm saying,"
Haley interrupted.
"I just know that tonight was the first time I've ever felt completely present in my own skin. And that has to mean something, right?"
Melissa turned in her seat to face Haley fully. "It means whatever you want it to mean. And whatever you decide, I'm here. Even if what I decide is complicated? Even if I don't know yet?" Even then, Melissa reached over and tucked a strand of brown hair behind Haley's ear, an intimate gesture that held no expectation, only support. "Do you want to come upstairs?" Haley asked. "Not for anything specific, just to talk. I'm not ready to take off this outfit and go back to being Waylon yet." "Of course." They spent hours talking that night, sprawled on the couch in Waylon's small living room. Haley spoke of childhood memories, always feeling different, gravitating toward female friends, secretly admiring their clothes and mannerisms. Melissa listened without judgment, offering neither advice nor solutions, simply presence. Morning found them asleep there, Melissa curled against the arm of the couch, Haley still in her pink blouse and white skirt, makeup smudged, but wig remarkably intact. The sunlight filtering through the blinds woke Haley first. For a disorienting moment, she couldn't remember why she was dressed this way, why her nail polish matched her blouse, why her legs were smooth against the fabric of her skirt. Then it all came back. The dinner, the conversation afterward, the revelations that had poured out of her like water breaching a dam. Carefully, so as not to wake Melissa, she made her way to the bathroom. The face that greeted her in the mirror was a mess of yesterday's makeup, but beneath the smudged mascara and faded lipstick was something undeniable, a person on the verge of becoming. Haley knew then that there was no going back to being just Waylon, not completely. The door that had opened couldn't be closed again. The question wasn't whether to move forward, but how. When Melissa woke an hour later, she found Haley in the kitchen, freshly showered, but still wearing the white skirt, paired now with a simple t-shirt. Her face was clean of makeup, her brown hair tucked behind her ears, the wig carefully placed on a stand they'd purchased for it. "Morning," Melissa said, voice rough with sleep.
"You okay?"
Haley turned from where she was brewing coffee. "I think I want to see a therapist, someone who specializes in gender identity." Melissa nodded, unsurprised. "I can help you find someone." "And I think I want to explore being Haley more. Not just for your parents or for Halloween. For me." "Okay." "Just okay. No questions. No concerns about what this means for us?" Melissa crossed the small kitchen and took the coffee pot from Haley's hands, setting it down before taking both her hands. "I fell in love with you, the person you are inside. The kindness, the intelligence, the way you see the world. None of that changes if your outside matches your inside better as Haley than as Waylon." Tears welled in Haley's eyes. "But I don't know what this makes us, what we are to each other now." "We're us," Melissa said simply. "We'll figure out the labels later, if we need them at all." The journey that began that morning unfolded slowly, deliberately. Haley found a therapist specializing in gender identity, Dr. Bennett, a compassionate woman who helped her navigate her feelings without pushing in any particular direction. At first, Haley lived a dual life. Waylon for classes and most public outings, Haley for private time with Melissa and their closest friends who had been gradually introduced to this evolving identity. But as weeks passed, the balance shifted. Haley began to emerge more frequently, gaining confidence, finding her authentic voice both literally and figuratively. She started growing out her brown hair, embracing its natural wave. She experimented with subtle makeup for day-to-day wear, learning techniques that enhanced rather than transformed. 3 months after the dinner with Melissa's parents, Haley decided to attend a full day of classes as herself, not in the dramatic Halloween presentation, but in a version of feminine attire that felt right for her. Jeans that highlighted her curves, a sweater in a soft teal that brought out the warmth in her brown eyes, minimal makeup, and her natural hair styled simply. "You sure about this?" Melissa asked that morning, watching Haley apply mascara with a steady hand, a skill she'd been practicing diligently.
"No,"
Haley admitted, "but I'll never know how it feels unless I try." That day was a revelation. There were stares, certainly, from people who recognized her as the person they'd known as Waylon. There were whispers, a few pointed questions, but there was also unexpected support. Professors who used her preferred name without comment, classmates who slid into seats beside her with the same casual greeting they'd always offered. By the time she met Melissa for lunch, Haley was glowing with a confidence she'd never possessed as Waylon. "Good day?" Melissa asked, already knowing the answer from Haley's expression. "I feel like I can breathe," Haley said. "Like I've been underwater all my life and finally came up for air." The next milestone came when Melissa's parents announced another visit, this time to attend a lecture by a renowned author who was speaking at the university. The dinner would be a repeat performance, but Haley knew it was time for honesty. "I need to tell them the truth," she said to Melissa the night before they arrived. "Not about Halloween, that doesn't matter anymore, but about who I am now, who I'm becoming." "Are you sure?" Melissa asked. "They already accept you as Haley." "But they don't know the journey. And if we're serious about this relationship, they deserve to know." They met Diane and Richard at the same restaurant, Haley wearing a navy blue dress that made her feel both confident and comfortable. Her brown hair had grown enough to frame her face softly, and her makeup was subtle but effective, highlighting her best features. After the initial greetings and catching up, when there was a natural lull in the conversation, Haley took a deep breath. "Diane, Richard," she began, her voice steady in its femininity, no longer something she had to consciously maintain. "There's something I need to share with you." She told them everything, about Halloween, about the dinner, about the revelation that followed, about therapy and self-discovery and the ongoing journey to align her outer self with her inner truth. Throughout her explanation, their expressions moved from confusion to understanding to a depth of compassion that brought tears to Haley's eyes. When she finished, silence hung over the table. Haley held her breath, waiting. It was Richard who spoke first. "Thank you for trusting us with this." "You're not disappointed or angry about the deception?" Diane reached across the table to take Haley's hand. "The only thing that matters to us is Melissa's happiness and the happiness of those she loves. You make her happy, and from what I can see, you're finding your own happiness too. That's all any parent wants for their child," Richard added, "and for those their child brings into the family." Family. The word warmed Haley from the inside out. She looked at Melissa, who was watching the exchange with tear-filled eyes. "I told you they were amazing," Melissa said softly. The rest of the evening passed with a new level of openness. Diane shared stories from her work as a high school counselor, where she'd supported several transgender students. Richard asked thoughtful questions about Haley's experience, genuinely seeking to understand. By the time they parted ways, Haley felt a weight lifted, not just the burden of deception, but the fear of rejection she'd carried her whole life without fully realizing it. "That went better than I could have imagined," she said as they drove home. "They love you," Melissa said simply. The real you. The real Haley continued to evolve over the following months. She began hormone therapy after careful consideration and consultation with medical professionals. She legally changed her name. She joined a support group for transgender individuals where she found community and understanding beyond what even the most supportive cisgender friends could offer. Melissa stood by her through every step, learning alongside her, advocating when needed, stepping back when Haley needed to find her own way. Their relationship deepened in ways neither had anticipated. The physical aspect evolved as Haley's body changed and as she became more comfortable in her skin. They discovered new ways of being intimate that honored Haley's changing relationship with her body. 1 year after the fateful Halloween party, they visited Melissa's parents for Thanksgiving. Haley now lived full-time as herself, her transition visible in the softening of her features, the subtle curves developing beneath her clothes, the confidence in her posture. As they sat around the dining table laden with holiday food, Richard raised his glass.
"I'd like to propose a toast," he said, "to new beginnings, to authentic living, and to the family we choose."
And, Diane added, her eyes twinkling with motherly affection,
to the best Halloween costume that became so much more.
They all laughed, glasses clinking, the sound of acceptance and love filling the room. Later that evening, as Melissa and Haley prepared for bed in Melissa's childhood room, Haley found herself staring at a photo on the dresser. Melissa as a teenager, arms around a high school friend, both laughing at some forgotten joke. "Do you ever regret it?" Haley asked suddenly. "Getting involved with someone whose life turned out to be so complicated?" Melissa paused in the middle of changing into pajamas. "Never, not for a second." "But it's not what you signed up for, falling for Waylon." "I didn't fall for a name or a gender presentation," Melissa said, crossing the room to stand before Haley. "I fell for a soul."
And that soul is standing right in front of me, more vibrant and authentic than ever.
She cupped Haley's face, thumbs gently tracing her cheekbones. "I love you. Completely. As you are. As you were. As you will become." "I love you too," Haley whispered, leaning into the touch. That night, lying beside Melissa in the twin bed they shared, Haley reflected on the journey that had begun with a borrowed black dress. How a single night of pretending had led to the most honest version of herself she'd ever known. The path ahead was still uncertain. There would be more changes, more challenges, more growth. But for the first time in her life, Haley wasn't afraid of the future. She had found her truth, found people who loved her for that truth, found the courage to live authentically. As she drifted toward sleep, Haley sent a silent thank you to the universe for that Halloween invitation, for Melissa's little black dress, for the misunderstanding that had turned out to be the most accurate understanding of all. Sometimes, she realized, the costume we put on reveals the person we truly are beneath all the other disguises we've worn our whole lives. And sometimes, the family that embraces that truth becomes the foundation upon which we build our authentic selves. In the morning, Haley would wake as herself, not a character, not a performance, not a compromise. Just Haley, with her brown hair spread across the pillow, her heart full, and her future wide open with possibilities she was finally brave enough to embrace.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!